Hello all, this is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3, and in this particular video, I want to talk to you about feeling unproductive as a professor or a researcher and kind of how you might want to deal with some of these feelings of being unproductive. So if you don't know me, I'm an associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out that I want to pay the favor forward and help you out. All right, so I do feel unproductive a lot of times, and I feel a lot of tension in myself when I feel unproductive. And lots of people feel this way. So I'm trying to be as open about this, and it's just kind of just like, the journey that we go through as, researchers or professors. So if you're watching this kind of stuff, this is really real. And this is me having this sort of conversation with myself as somebody. Hopefully, I'm going to reach out in the screen. If there's somebody else that's out there that's like me, hopefully I'm talking to you. And this is kind of some of the stuff that I've had to deal with, right? So I feel unproductive all the time. So, you're, even when you're writing a lot and you go through these writing binges where you write a tremendous amount of time and you dedicate a tremendous amount of time, I feel unproductive when I go to the restroom. I feel unproductive when, I will go get a coffee because it feels like I should be doing some time working on the thing that I'm doing, and instead I'm going and doing these things that are really important. Many of you, if you're watching this and you're a graduate student, you might feel unproductive if you're brushing your teeth, cutting, getting haircuts and things like that. Anytime that you take a break, which for me is all the time in terms of this feeling, anytime I go and grab dinner, I've always felt like this for a very, very long time, ever since I started. Maybe it was midway through high school when I started really caring about performance and my success as an individual. I feel unproductive whenever I'm not doing something that is kind of work related. And it's really real for most of us that are out there doing this career. There's lots of reasons for this. You can watch some of my older videos in terms of I talk about this. I'm not a mental health expert in any sort of way, but these are things that is real and I deal with. I have conversations with other people, and this is all very, very real for most of us that are out there. And we all feel kind of unproductive a lot of time because we're constantly comparing ourselves to somebody or this sort of reference set that's out there that's kind of imaginary in your head in terms of who that particular individual are. And we're probably comparing ourselves to, either the best people in the entire field because they get a lot of recognition. Everybody knows who they are. And so we're comparing ourselves to those particular individuals. And even those individuals are comparing themselves to other people in different fields that are even more productive. That there is, this feeling is universal for all of us, and no matter what stage you're at. Maybe you're a PhD student right now and there's other people in your cohort at your institution that are just much more, or they seem more productive than you, right? You don't know what the quality is and what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So that's, I want to be clear with that in terms of it seems or appears. You don't really understand what's going on in terms of the background of what they're doing. And so that's a really important thing. And I'm not saying that people cheat and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that their surroundings and what they're doing is completely different than what you're doing. So we all feel really unproductive. And these are things that I've learned with this, and it never really, the first thing is that feeling never goes away. And I thought it would go away. It's kind of like, I'm attracted to the opposite sex. And I thought, when I was, maybe a teenager or something like that, it would go away eventually, right? That sort of feeling of being attracted to somebody or the opposite sex. It never goes away. It's the same thing with this, is that once you start feeling like this and you care about your productivity, you care about your, you care about your success, you care about other people's success around you, you just care, you just give a damn, right? That when you start doing that, every time that you're not doing something that is working towards that particular goal, whatever that is, that big sort of amorphous goal, you just feel like you are always unproductive. And, this is very real for me, and is very real for a lot of people. And so what does it actually feel like? A lot of it for me, in terms of feeling unproductive, and I'm not saying that this is kind of universal, but for me, it's a lot like kind of nervousness or anxiety, where I am thinking about what I should be doing, and that I'm not actually achieving my full potential in the thing that I'm trying to do, right? So every time that I spend time with my kids, every time that I, grab something to eat, every time, whatever, that I'm not, interacting with you, I'm having a conversation, every time I'm doing stuff like this, right? Like doing the whole YouTube videos thing and stuff, and I'm not writing and doing research or reading, analyzing data, all those kind of things, I feel very, very unproductive. And it really is one of those things that you just feel like you're anxious, and you have this kind of gut feeling that you're always like, oh man, I shouldn't be doing this, right? And that feeling never goes away. I'm now 40 years old, and it has continued to go with me. And it's something that I've had to learn to deal with, but it does not go away, right? So it's the same as all these other kind of emotions that we have, right? As I mentioned. So it never goes away, that sort of feeling of anxiety or nervousness of wanting to do more. So just expect that. I'm not saying that that is, perfectly good, but I'm saying that's just kind of part of life, right? And that, I think a big part of it, it just means you care. And when you care, that is, it's a double-edged sword, right? That's a really positive thing for a lot of things, but at the same time, it's not necessarily a positive thing. Often, and what triggers it the most is when I'm not doing things I'm not in the state of flow, right? So, this idea, Mikhail, I can never say his name right. It's a big, long, I think it's Ukrainian name, but, studied the state of flow. I'm never going to get it right, so I'm not going to try. But anyways, this person studied creative individuals, really famous social psychologist. I apologize if you watch this. So anyways, what it is when you're in a state of flow, you kind of, everything else disappears around you, right? And all of us have had this experience where things just disappear, and you kind of have this out of body experience. But when you are not doing that and not in a state of flow, you're kind of conscious about other things that are around you, and you feel like you should be in that state of flow. The trouble is, being in a state of flow is very resource intensive. It's very time consuming. You feel very exhausted after you do that, and we just can't be in that state. I don't know why. I don't know what the whole sort of mechanism is behind that, but we just can't be in that state all the time. And so how do I actually deal with feeling unproductive? Again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just kind of a regular dude that deals with this in academia, and I'm a professor, a researcher, that kind of stuff. And the biggest thing in terms of dealing unproductive. So actually, the other thing is, if you need help with this, you really, really need help with this, go see and talk to somebody. Go talk to a mental health person, a counselor, a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever it is that you need to talk to. Go and talk to somebody. Go talk to your physician. It helps. So what I've learned is, the thing that I would really, or that I'm thinking about here, is that the reason why you feel unproductive is that it's a signal of the thing that you're working on is important to you. And if you don't feel that way, it probably is that the thing that you're working on is not necessarily all that important to you. So you always want to go back to that thing. You get kind of pulled into it. You have this sort of sense of being pulled into that particular thing. And so that's kind of a really important thing, right? Like, that means that you're doing probably the right thing in your life. But the other thing I want to point out is, in terms of, our life in general is filled with multiple goals. We're always torn in multiple directions. And what's helped me over the years is thinking about life not in terms of one particular goal, but it's kind of like a balance of all these different goals that we have, right? So productivity, the way that we think about it, is one way is we're thinking about it in terms of working and producing stuff. But then there is also productivity in the sense of being, a good parent. There's productivity in the sense of being, a good husband or wife. There's productivity in terms of being a good member of the community. All these kind of things where we have to optimize on, and they're never quite in balance. They're always moving and fluctuating and changing, and it's tricky to sort of balance that thing. And we have to be just aware that that is part of our life, and that's what's going on, is that there's all these multiple goals that we're being torn. And we have to sort of play different strategies in terms of dealing with them, right? So one of them is, kind of an attention strategy where you look one way and you pay attention to that thing for a little bit, then you go to another thing, and you pay attention to that thing for another bit. That's kind of a normal way of how most of us deal with this. And so just be aware that this happens, and you're totally normal if you're having this experience. The second thing that I've learned to do, and that's part of this whole reciprocity project, because it kind of gets me excited, is that the more that you give of yourself, the more that it becomes, the less you sort of feel with these kind of things, the more you kind of get pulled into a certain thing, right? It just shows that you care. And so I look for ways to give at scale. And help as many people as I can at scale, right? So doing a YouTube channel, something like that is pretty scalable, and all these videos are going to be up there for years and years and years. And hopefully it's helping out people. I don't know, but I hope it is. So I just look for ways to give in multiple different kinds of ways, right? So it's not just doing sort of financial giving. But for me, it is doing these videos and giving of my time and effort in terms of helping you out. That's really important to me. And it's a really nice distraction. At the moment, it doesn't feel like it's being productive, but, hopefully in the long run, it'll pay off, right? In terms of giving and looking for opportunities and stuff like that. So that's the way I think about it. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But at this moment, this is one thing that I deal with. Feeling unproductive is just looking for ways that I can give in many different ways. And then the third way, and this all really is it varies on your personality and the traits that you have, right? We all have different traits. We all have sort of different levels of one thing and levels of another thing. We're all kind of individuals. And so you kind of have to develop a I don't care attitude. And the more that you develop that, and some of us it comes naturally. That's why I'm talking about these traits. And sometimes it just comes really naturally, and you can deal with this kind of stuff. But other people it doesn't. And you have to keep working at that and keep pushing at that sort of thing of I don't really care one way or the other. And that's going to help you out going forward, right? So you have to balance that in terms of how much you care about something and how much you don't care about something. And it's a real balance in terms of making sure that you don't get really sucked into something and just feeling more and more unproductive, because that actually does make you unproductive eventually, right? Because you start feeling really bummed out about yourself. And so if you can balance that of the how much you actually I don't care about it, and how much you care about that, I know it seems kind of weird and counterintuitive, but you have to really sort of struggle with that. And it's a struggle that we all have, and I don't think it ever goes away, but just know it's there. And the more that you work at that, the better off, I think. Again, it never goes away, but at the same time, the more that you work at that, the better you get at it. So that's it, right? So we all feel unproductive. I feel unproductive. I guess I should probably speak for myself. I feel unproductive a lot of times, and I think I'm pretty normal. I think. I don't know. I guess I should ask my wife. My wife would beg to differ, I guess, and my kids would probably think I'm weird too. But Anyways, so that's what I wanted to talk to you about, feeling unproductive, and kind of give you some strategies in terms of dealing with this. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. All right, bye.